Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is Explanation of Battle Through the Heavens episode number 215 based on novel. So let's start. News of Xiao Yang's return to the Sky Mansion Alliance spread with lightning-like speed. Within less than a day, this news had made its way across all the territories the Sky Mansion Alliance owned. In an instant, the Sky Mansion had become unusually heated. No one could doubt the reputation Xiao Yang wielded within the Alliance. Although the Alliance had engaged in fiery hot battles with the Hall of Souls during these last 2 years, Xiao Yang's absence had caused the morale of the Alliance to fall, especially for some disciples from the Falling Star Pavilion. That figure had descended like a divine being when all hope had been lost at their most desperate hour. He subsequently reversed the bleak situation with his own strength. The shock that was created from being rescued time and time again had gradually burrowed deep into everyone's hearts with the flow of time, causing them to feel a heartfelt respect and fear for that person. Although Yarrow Larrow was still present while Xiao Yang was absent and nothing chaotic had happened, the upper echelons of the Sky Mansion were still able to sense the problems that Xiao Yang's unknown fate had generated. Fortunately, the matters that had given them a headache automatically disappeared following Xiao Yang's return. The current alliance could finally release its frightening fighting strength under the leadership of this spiritual leader. While news of Xiao Yang's return wildly spread within the Sky Mansion Alliance, the Hall of Souls sank into silence. Even the matter of Xiao Yang destroying a branch hall in passing was not mentioned. It appeared as though the Hall of Souls had quietly swallowed this incident. This situation was relatively exciting from the way the ordinary members of the Sky Mansion Alliance saw it. They naturally related this matter to Xiao Yang, who had just returned. In an instant, Xiao Yang's reputation in the Alliance soared once again. Relying on one's own strength to suppress the domineering Hall of Souls could only be described as terrifying. Of course, these thoughts were naturally limited to the ordinary members of the Sky Mansion. Those from the upper echelons understood that this was merely the calm before the storm. The Hall of Souls was definitely gathering experts and preparing to deliver a fatal blow to the Sky Mansion Alliance. The pressure bred by the calm before the storm prompted Yarrow Larrow to raise the defenses of the Alliance their highest level. Countless spies swarmed out like locusts. Any minor occurrences within the Central Plains would be transmitted back to the Sky Mansion Alliance as fast as possible. The somewhat pressuring silence continued for 5 full days. The number of conflicts between the Alliance and the Hall of Souls had strangely diminished during these 5 days. It appeared as though both parties were holding back and not taking the initiative to attack. They both guarded their own territories and maintained extreme caution. While both parties were facing off, some other factions sensed that something was wrong. Hence, countless pairs of eyes were roaming between the Sky Mansion Alliance and the Hall of Souls. Some of the sensitive individuals quietly detected a hidden flow. The Hall of Souls and the Sky Mansion Alliance had fought for many years. Although the fighting was extremely intense, they had not dispatched their true peak experts yet. Everyone knew that the final battle between the two large factions would begin the moment the peak experts clashed. A defeat would mean that the fight between the Sky Mansion Alliance and the Hall of Soul had ended with a victor. If the Sky Mansion Alliance was victorious, the overlord of the Central Plains would likely change. If the Sky Mansion Alliance lost, they would ultimately be weaker when facing the Hall of Souls in the future. This might not appear like much of a problem on the surface, but it would destroy the Alliance. The members of the Sky Mansion Alliance all felt proud that the Alliance could contend with the Hall of Souls. After all, only the Sky Mansion Alliance could fight the Hall of Souls even after all these years. If a day came and caused this pride to disappear, they would lose their spiritual belief. This was a relatively serious matter for such a huge faction. Hence, some people were able to detect the oncoming storm amid this strange atmosphere. The fight between both parties this time around would really be earth-shaking. While the outside world was anticipating the actions of the Sky Mansion and Hall of Souls, Xiao Yang had shut himself away. He guarded a quiet courtyard and listened to Xiao Xiao's clear laughter. His heart was filled with a warmth. Without realizing it, he had been away from his daughter for 2 years. If one were to talk about it, he was really an irresponsible father. He was many times worse compared to how Xiao Zhan had raised him. Xiao Xiao had grown a lot during these 2 years. She had gradually changed from a noisy little toddler into a youth. Despite being young, she had inherited her mother's bewitching appearance. Her entire being radiated a perfect beauty. Once she grew up, she would definitely be the kind of girl whose beauty could spawn a disaster. Growing older allowed Xiao Xiao's strength to grow by leaps and bounds. Her soul had been incomparably strong since birth. Moreover, there was also the 7-colored heaven swallowing python within her body. It was impossible to use ordinary speed to measure her training. Moreover, the thing that surprised Xiao Yang was that the usually quiet and expressionless ancestor Xiao Chen, who was old-fashioned and strange, was extremely warm towards Xiao Xiao. From what the little fairy doctor had told him, Xiao Chen had passed on everything that he knew to Xiao Xiao during the 2 years that Xiao Yang had been missing. It seemed as though he was only one step short of passing all of his doqi to her. Xiao Yang bitterly smiled because of Xiao Xiao. She had been blessed with a great amount of love. It was really quite depressing to compare oneself with another. His training during these years had been incomparably tough. The young man from back then had carried a heavy ruler, walked out of Wutan City, and roamed most of the Jiomar Empire. He continued on his path and finally arrived here. He had put in an unspeakable amount of effort in the process. However, the achievements he had achieved through hard work were easily obtained by Xiao Xiao. She was treated completely different. While Xiao Yang was accompanying Xiao Xiao and being a father for these few days, Xiao Yang had come across Qing Lin and Tian Huazunja. The current Qing Lin had also reached the first star of the Dosheng class. She had attained an extremely high position with the alliance, but she did not really bother with the day-to-day matters of the alliance. On the other hand, when he met Tian Huazunja, the both of them ended up sighing a little. At this moment, Tian Huazunja's strength had recovered to his previous peak and then some. He had reached the peak of the Dozun class with the help of the medicinal pills Yarrow Larrow had refined. Although there was only a step to the Bansheng class, he did not know whether or not he would be able to take this step within his lifetime. However, Tian Huazunja was not affected by this dilemma. He was supposed to be dead already. If Xiao Yang had not rescued him from the magma world beneath Jianan Academy back then, he would have already vanished, but he had not only managed to gain a physical body again, even his strength had far surpassed his previous peak. He was already very pleased and did not feel the drive to challenge Qing Lin, the little fairy doctor, and the others from the younger generation. Xiao Yang could only quietly nod his head as Tian Huazunja expressed his free and easy thoughts. He quietly remembered this matter in his heart. Ever since he had rescued Tian Huazunja back then, Tian Huazunja had been a good teacher and friend. His rich experience had guided Xiao Yang away from many detours. Although he had subsequently helped Tian Huazunja refine a body, he was someone who would repay a favor many times over. He would naturally try to find a way to allow Tian Huazunja to break through to the Bansheng class. Although this would be difficult, it was not a completely impossible task with his alchemy skills. The few days of peace quietly flowed by in this manner. Xiao Yang felt extremely relaxed during these few days. Due to some unknown reason, his present self was enjoying spending time with his kin. He somewhat mockingly thought that the reason he was enjoying it was because he was aging. However, these warm and peaceful days would ultimately come to an end. After silence had reigned between the Sky Mansion and the Hall of Souls for 7 days, a blood-red challenge letter that was delivered to the Alliance, breaking the silence. The challenge letter was delivered by the Hall of Souls. Xiao Yang stood with his hands behind him under a stone pavilion within the courtyard. The blood-red challenge letter was quietly lying on the stone table in front of him. There was a dense bloody scent vaguely being emitted from it. The Hall of Souls is finally unable to endure any longer. Yarrow Larrow's hand gently rubbed the stone table as he stood beside Xiao Yang. His expression was a little strange as he said, however, this challenge letter is targeting you. Xiao Yang boasts an extremely great reputation within the Sky Mansion Alliance. The morale of the Alliance will collapse if he is defeated. Xiao Chen responded in a faint voice. Xiao Yang slightly smiled. He gently flicked his finger and the blood-colored challenge letter on the stone table opened. A bloody vapor spluttered out before turning into some blood-colored words. These words were filled with a stern aura as they floated in the air in front of him. Sky Mansion, Xiao Yang, we will fight to the death on the Fallen Mountain in 3 days' time. The Fallen Mountain range was located on the border between the Hall of Souls and the Sky Mansion Alliance. Both parties had fought many battles in this mountain range in the past. The battles moved back and forth and could be considered unusually intense. The name of the Fallen Mountain range could be traced back to ancient times. It was rumored that quite a number of elite Doshengs had ended up dying in these mountains in ancient times. Although this legend had caused many treasure seekers to roam the mountain range many times, they were unable to find any Dosheng remains, but the lack of treasures did not tarnish the reputation of the Fallen Mountain range within the Central Plains, especially when this mountain range was chosen as the spot where the decisive battle between the Hall of Souls and the Sky Mansion Alliance would be held. The Fallen Mountain range's reputation had suddenly soared again. It was unavoidable that news would spread, but it seemed like both parties had underestimated the shock that the news had generated. Within 3 days, the somewhat deserted Fallen Mountain range had filled with a vast number of people at a shocking speed. Those factions and experts from all over had swarmed toward the Fallen Mountain range. This fight for the position of overlord of all factions within the Central Plains was an eye-grabbing event. It seemed that these factions and experts from the Central Plains were all extremely curious to learn who would emerge as the strongest in this clash, the old powerhouse, the Hall of Souls, or the new Sky Mansion Alliance. Within 3 short days, the human traffic within the Fallen Mountain range had reached a terrifying extent, forcing the magical beasts living in the mountain range to endure a hardship. Some of the magical beast tribes living in those mountains hurriedly moved their tribe in fear of being implicated, which could result in the destruction of their tribe. While the number of people flooding into the fallen mountain range reached a saturation point, the hearts of the countless individuals present suddenly surged. None of them expected this trip to be in vain. Such a decisive battle would definitely be earth-shaking. 3 days quickly passed in front of everyone's eyes. When morning sunlight tore through the clouds and scattered across the ground on the 4th day, the atmosphere of the mountain range became extremely heated. The rushing sound of wind continuously echoed across the sky as many figures flew together like locusts. Their destination was the same. They were headed to the fallen mountain in the middle of the fallen mountain range. The fallen mountain was the most majestic and precipitous mountain in the fallen mountain range. It was extremely tall. Some of the mountain roads were so steep that they were almost vertical. Hence, there was no way to climb this mountain. The peak of the fallen mountain was so smooth it seemed as though a huge mirror had been built on it. The sunlight that landed on it was reflected into glaring light rays. From a distance, a pillar of those rays seemed to rise from the mountain and penetrate the clouds, giving it an unusually majestic and grand appearance, which caused one to feel prideful. Adding to the ambience was the countless number of people floating all around it, causing the blood of many to feel like boiling. If one were to engage in an all-out fight in front of these many pairs of eyes in one's lifetime, one would regret nothing even in death. The sky around the mountain was crowded with people. Any expert who possessed the ability to fly either spread their do-chi wings or directly stepped through the air. One could even see some old demons who had concealed themselves from the world and the grand elders of some sects present in areas near the peak of the mountain. It seemed that all these elders from the older generation wanted to witness the outcome of this earth-shaking battle. Although the entire mountain range was unbelievably crowded, not a single person dared to land on the fallen mountain. Even those old demons, who could crumble space with the lift of a hand, remained 10,000 feet away from the mountain. The sun in the sky became hotter with the flow of time. When the bright round sun reached the highest point in the sky, the light pillar that shot from the top of the fallen mountain into the air above had also reached its most glaring state. The light pillar that reached toward the sky appeared like it had connected with the bright sun above. When viewed from far away, it was an extremely spectacular sight. The space around the fallen mountain rapidly distorted when the light pillar had reached a peak state. A spatial tunnel slowly formed in front of the countless pairs of eyes present. A cold, black fog surged in all directions after the spatial tunnel was formed. There was a sharp sound being vaguely emitted. This sound caused the expressions of many viewers to change. Their eyes were filled with disgust and fear as they stared at the black fog. The members of the Hall of Souls are here. Everyone clearly understood just who these people were from the prelude of their entrance. Everyone hurriedly braced their attention. The black fog churned after it appeared. 7 figures slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Those 7 figures all had vast and mighty auras. Many people felt extremely terrified from just looking at them. This Hall of Soul was indeed worthy of being the overlord on the Central Plains. They had taken out 7 Do Shung together. This grand manner really caused only to have little choice but to sigh in admiration. The 2 leaders among the 7 were the chief of the Hall of Souls and that old man Hun Mo. The deputy hall chief was the only familiar face behind them. The remaining individuals were likely experts from the Hun clan. This entire area quickly became dark and chilly after these 7 individuals appeared. Even the sunlight that scattered down from the sky felt chilly on one's body. The strength of this Hall of Souls is actually so frightening. The expressions of the Grand Elders from some of the large sects revealed the graveness they felt as they witnessed this scene. Only after personally witnessing the lineup of the Hall of Souls did they finally understand that there was a vast unbridgeable gap between their factions and the Hall of Souls. The members of the Sky Mansion Alliance should reveal themselves since you have arrived. The chief of the Hall of Souls swept his eyes indifferently over the surrounding densely packed crowd after appearing. He immediately lifted his head and looked at a mountain far away. His faint voice was like thunder as it reverberated across the fallen mountain range. You are indeed worthy of being the chief of the Hall of Souls. Your sight is really good. A laugh steadily followed after the voice from the chief of the Hall of Souls reverberated. After which, everyone watched as the space on the other side of the fallen mountain swiftly became distorted. After the appearance of these 10 figures, the surroundings, which had become dark and cold because of the monstrous Do-Chi that radiated from the group from the Hall of Souls, gradually recovered some heat. Everyone quietly sighed in relief at this moment. Such a fight was too terrifying. Just the auras that seeped out alone could influence the temperature. The Sky Mansion Alliance actually has 10 Do Shungs. Everyone carefully swept their eyes over the figures from the Sky Mansion that had appeared after getting over their initial shock. The sound of cold air being inhaled could be heard. Some of the old demons' expressions had drastically changed. 10 Do Shungs. The Sky Mansion Alliance seemed to have brought all the experts in their hands. Adding Ancestor Huayun, the Qinghua fairies, and a 1-star Do Sheng, who had joined the Alliance in the last 2 years after being invited by Yaro Lao, the number of Do Shungs that the Alliance possessed had reached the frightening number of 10. This lineup was comparable to some ancient clans. The surroundings became much quieter. Clearly, everyone was stunned by the great strength of the Sky Mansion alliance. The eyes of some old demons and those grand elders from certain sects were filled with shock. No one had expected the strength of the Sky Mansion alliance to soar to such an extent. You are indeed still alive. The chief of the Hall of Souls did not appear to lose himself when the lineup that the Sky Mansion alliance had brought was displayed. With their information-gathering abilities, they were already clearly aware of most of the Sky Mansion alliance's strength. Hence, he merely shifted his eyes and stared at the black-clothed young man standing at the leader's position. His heart felt disbelief when he first learned of the new information related to this young man. After having personally witnessed the might of the purifying demonic lotus flame, it was difficult for him to believe that Xiao Yang had been escaped the hands of the purifying demonic lotus flame with his life. Thank you for remembering me. Otherwise, I would not have been able to endure. Xiao Yang slightly smiled. His eyes scanned the chief of the Hall of Souls in front of him. A person like this chief was no different than a legend in his heart back then. At that time, he was not even an ant in front of such a person. Now, however, he was able to speak as an equal to this overlord, who had once stirred a bloody storm across the central plains in front of these many pairs of eyes. This indicated that he was growing at a shocking speed. The chief of the Hall of Souls was non-committal when he heard Xiao Yang's soft piercing words. The demonic flame is in your hands. The chief of the Hall of Souls mused before he suddenly made a statement. Xiao Yang smiled but did not reply. The chief of the Hall of Souls slowly nodded in the face of Xiao Yang's non-committal manner. A grave expression finally rose in his eyes as he said, "The defeated Xiao clan has been able to produce a person like you. If one were to discuss your achievements, you can be compared to Xiao Xian. However, since my Han clan killed the first Xiao Xian, we can also kill the second Xiao Xian." Xiao Yang's eyes were narrowed. Those dark black eyes had a chill flowing within them. Your Sky Mansion alliance only has one opportunity in this battle. You will end up in a terrible state if you lose. Xiao Yang, do you dare to accept these stakes? The chief of the Hall of Souls quietly stared at Xiao Yang. His voice were like the chime of tens of thousands of bells. It was also accompanied by an extremely terrifying spiritual assault as it swept toward Xiao Yang from all directions. Xiao Yang stepped forward. His aura was smooth. That fierce tide-like spiritual assault from the chief of the Hall of Souls was not able to force him to take a step back. He lifted his head and answered in a faint voice. Accept. I accept. A glint flashed across the eyes of the Hall of Souls chief after Xiao Yang uttered those words. He did not open his mouth, but everyone could sense the sudden increase in pressure. A storm was imminent. It is time to end our conflict. The many years of waiting had finally resulted in this situation. However, Xiao Yang's mind remained peaceful. He had once been a youth who had worked hard with final aim of defeating the Mist Cloud sect in the Jomar Empire, but then the Hall of Souls had appeared out of nowhere. They captured his father and destroyed his clan. They had even nearly ended the Xiao clan's bloodline. This hatred could never be reconciled. Since that time, the somewhat tender youth understood in his heart that his future path would be filled with difficulty, but he had chosen to continue advancing without hesitation because there were some things that could not be left undone even if they were extremely difficult. From a certain point of view, the Hall of Souls had played a great part in allowing Xiao Yang to reach this stage today. They had given Xiao Yang a potent motivation. How bold, old man Hun Mo beside the chief of the Hall of Souls glanced at Xiao Yang with a dark and cold expression as he strangely laughed. Xiao Yang glanced at him indifferently. He quickly looked back at the chief of the Hall of Souls and asked, "May I know how we will proceed with this challenge?" There will be 3 rounds with the winner being the party that wins 2 of the matches. Each of us will send out 3 people to engage in an all-out fight. The chief of the Hall of Souls explained in a low voice. Of course, if you wish for everyone from the Hall of Souls and the Sky Mansion Alliance to fight, this chief will not object. My Hall of Souls has stood in the Central Plains for many years. If you really think that you can fight us by randomly gathering some factions to form an alliance, you are really a little too naive. Your words do carry some weight since you have the support of the Han clan. Xiao Yang smiled and shook his head. He immediately said, "If we were to engage in a large-scale battle, even if my Sky Mansion alliance ended up being annihilated, your Han clan would definitely suffer some serious damage. It seems that the Han clan is unwilling to suffer such losses." This decisive battle invitation clearly indicated that the Hall of Souls did not intend to engage in a large-scale war. Hence, they had arranged this fight between the highest-level experts. Although their battle would not be very large, they were representing their respective camps. If they were to lose, they would be weaker than the other party in the future regardless of what they could do. You are allowed to select the first 2 individuals. The chief of the Hall of Souls informed him in a faint voice. Winning 2 out of 3 rounds, allowing others to have what they want is a good virtue. Xiao Yang slightly smiled as he opened his mouth to reply. This Hun clan was unwilling to let the Hall of Souls suffer losses amounting to 80 or 90% of its strength. He was also unwilling to completely lose the Sky Mansion alliance. The alliance was all he could rely on to fight the Hun clan. It had only gained such an achievement after being managed with great difficulty. How could he simply lose it? Although the words of the Hall of Souls chief might be unpleasant, they were indeed the truth. The current Sky Mansion alliance was able to fight the Hall of Souls, but the alliance would definitely suffer irreparable losses if it really wanted to completely destroy the Hall of Souls. It looks like you are also unable to bear the losses from an all-out war. The chief of the Hall of Souls lifted a brow and spoke with a deeper meaning after hearing Xiao Yang's response. Show me the people who will fight, Xiao Yang smiled and requested. This is the greatest provocation my Hun clan has received during these years, Old Man Hun Mo darkly laughed. He immediately took a step forward. Young fellow from the Xiao clan, include me as one of the three. After Old Man Hun Mo stepped forward, an individual with sharp senses would discover that this large mountain was gently trembling. A dragon-like sonic wave escaped from beneath Old Man Hun Mo's feet. It broke through the large rock within the mountain's body in a wild fashion. After which, it roared and rushed towards Xiao Yang. Bang! The moment the hidden force resembling a huge dragon broke free from the ground, a human figure stepped in front of Xiao Yang. A foot coincidentally landed on the ground where the hidden force was located. The hard ground immediately sank by half a foot. That hidden force was shattered by that figure. The Hun clan is still as underhanded as ever. Xiao Chen was expressionless as he glanced at Old Man Hun Mo and slowly made a comment. Blood axe Xiao Chen. Old Man Hun Mo's face was dark and cold. Both of his eyes were like poisonous snakes. He stared at Xiao Chen while he uttered each word with a pause. You ants aren't worthy mentioning the name of the clan head. Xiao Chen appeared just like a slowly waking fierce wolf. A faint murderous intent seeped out of his body a little at a time. The chief of the Hall of Souls and Old Man Hun Mo frowned. They did not dare to slight Xiao Chen even a little within his heart, especially since the chief had fallen to a disadvantage while fighting Xiao Chen within the demonic flame realm. The chief had become relatively miserable then. Now that they had met again, he naturally felt a great fear within his heart. Haha, you are indeed worthy of being Blood Axe Xiao Chen. You are still this strong despite having not appeared for so many years. Although Xiao Xian was extremely well known, he ultimately could not avoid death. Your Xiao clan is destined to be only a short blooming flower. An elderly figure holding a walking stick, who had been standing beside the chief of the Hall of Souls and Old Man Hun Mo, slowly appeared in front of everyone in a ghost-like fashion without warning while the two were frowning. Xiao Yang's eyes focused the moment that elderly figure appeared. His expression was grave as he studied the figure. The appearance of this person did not even cause space itself to fluctuate, as though he had been standing in that spot from the beginning. The strength of this person is really terrifying. Xiao Yang and the rest beside him exchanged glances with each other. They were able to see some shock in each other's faces. Hun Chen Mo. Xiao Chen's eyes bore into the elderly person holding a walking stick. This elderly person was so skinny that he appeared to only be made of bones. His shriveled face wore a smile, which caused one to feel uneasy. Those eyes were not as turbid as an ordinary old man. Instead, they contained a strange brightness. Under that pair of eyes, it seemed that even his soul was emitting a piercing pain. The hearts of Xiao Yang's group shook after hearing Xiao Chen utter this name with a pause. The Hun clan had indeed dispatched this old fellow. Hun Chen Mo, gosh, he is still alive. The Hun clan has even dispatched him. Looks like they are determined to seriously injure the Sky Mansion alliance. Elders with great experience were not scarce around the mountain. Some of the somewhat younger experts might not have heard of the name Hun Chen Mo, but these elderly individuals were clearly aware of just how frightening this old fellow was. Trash who once begged for mercy before the hands of the clan head actually dares to show itself. Xiao Chen inhaled a deep breath. He suppressed the surging murderous intent within his heart and snarled with an expressionless face. Hun Chen Mo's shriveled face trembled slightly. His eyes, which contained a strange luster, slowly swept over Xiao Chen and Xiao Yang. His hoarse voice was like bones rubbing against each other. Regardless of how powerful he is, he will not be able to avoid death. The winner is king. Currently, the Hun clan still stands at the peak of this continent, but what about the Xiao clan? The Xiao clan, which was once renowned throughout this continent, only lives on as a small group. They are on their last leg beneath the eyes of our Hun clan. It must be said that this is truly a tragedy. Bang! A dark and stern expression surged onto Xiao Chen's face. His body flashed and appeared in front of Hun Chen Mo. A hand of his flew through empty air and a huge blood-colored axe materialized. It was quickly accompanied by a sharp wind that appeared like a thunderbolt as it cut through the sky and violently swung toward Hun Chen Mo. Xiao Chen, even though you have been lucky enough to survive until now, the current you is no longer that blood axe Xiao Chen from back then. Hun Chen Mo's extremely shriveled face revealed a hostile expression when he sensed Xiao Chen's swift attack. His bone-like hand was clenched into a fist, after which, it was thrown toward the huge blood-colored axe. The wind formed from this terrifying collision caused a couple of the Hall of Souls elite Do Shungs to swiftly withdraw with a change in expression. Only the chief of the Hall of Souls and Old Man Hun Mo were able to stand their ground. The axe ruthlessly hacked at Hun Qianmo's fist. An extremely terrifying retaliatory force caused Xiao Chen to stagger back by over 10 steps. His expressions became a little dark and gloomy as he glared at Hun Qianmo. He had been trapped in the demonic flame illusion for thousands of years. His training results would naturally be inferior to Hun Qianmo's ordinary training, causing him to feel dissatisfied. Back then, this Hun Qianmo would only be able to turn around and flee with a terrified expression after seeing him. Xiao Chen, this elderly self has already said that everything has already changed. The current you is no match for me. Hun Qianmo glanced at the many faint blood imprints on his fist, but he simply ignored them and spoke in a faint voice. He immediately glanced towards Xiao Yang and licked his tongue. You have the scent of Xiao Xian in your body. It seems that you have really obtained his inheritance in the heavenly tomb. Xiao Yang's expression was calm. The strength of this old man who would not die was likely around that of a 6-star Dosheng. He was stronger than everyone present. The Hall of Souls had indeed come prepared. Xiao Yang, the Hall of Soul has already selected its competitors. It is your turn. The chief of the Hall of Souls indifferently glanced at Xiao Yang. He took a step forward, implying that the third person was him. A chill surged within Xiao Yang's eyes after seeing their opponents. It seemed that the big battle today would be intense. He should be able to deal with the chief of the Hall of Souls in one of the 3 battles. Old Man Hun Mo would be left to ancestor Xiao Chen, but the only big problem was Hun Qianmo. Leave that old man who will not die to me. A small figure quietly appeared beside Xiao Yang while this thought was flashing through Xiao Yang's heart. That youthful appearance naturally belonged to the Pill Tower's ancestor. The ancestor Xiao Yang had met in the demonic flame realm back then. Ancestor. The first elder from the Pill Tower by the side revealed a joyous expression after noticing the green-clothed youth beside Xiao Yang. He respectfully cried out, "Greetings to ancestor." Xiao Yang did not dare slight this shockingly old existence. He immediately cupped his hands together and politely gave a greeting. "Why are you so courteous?" The ancestor of the Pill Tower waved his hand. His clear eyes contained some surprise as they swept over Xiao Yang. He laughed. How unexpected. The purifying demonic lotus flame even I could not subdue has actually fallen into your hands. Such a lucky opportunity is really a source of envy. A divine object like the purifying demonic lotus flame was something that even the ancestor of the Pill Tower coveted despite his strength. However, no one had ever successfully subdued it after all these years. Xiao Yang merely grinned when he heard the Pill Tower's ancestor laughter. He had subdued the purifying demonic lotus flame by luck. If the remnant image of the purifying demonic lotus saint hadn't activated the formation and committed suicide with the demonic flame, he would not have been able to subdue and refine the demon flame that this ancestor of the Pill Tower could not fight even if he was many times luckier. The Pill Tower is also a member of the Sky Mansion Alliance and all of you will be sharing glory or destruction together. Being the Pill Tower's guardian, I cannot keep myself away from this matter. The ancestor of the Pill Tower's somewhat tender face looked at Xiao Yang. There was an unknown feeling within his eyes. He had lived for so many years and had become extremely sharp. He naturally understood the reason Xiao Yang had established the Sky Mansion. Xiao Yang remained relatively calm in the face of the look the ancestor of the Pill Tower gave him. He did not intend to scheme against the Pill Tower. The matter of the alliance was beneficial to him and also benefited the Pill Tower. The Pill Tower had been fighting against the Hall of Souls for quite some time and an increasing number of alchemists, who had been threatened by the Hall of Souls, jumped to a new side. A sharp-eyed person would easily be able to notice such a development. It was likely that the extremely wise ancestor of the Pill Tower also understood what was happening. Therefore, Xiao Yang was not worried that the ancestor would find trouble with him. Leave that old fellow who will not die, Hun Qianmo, to me. I do not dare to say that I can defeat him, but a draw is not the worst outcome. The ancestor of the Pill Tower laughed as he softly spoke. Elder, thank you very much. Xiao Yang sighed in relief. With these words as a guarantee, a factor of uncertainty would be missing from this decisive battle. The ancestor of the Pill Tower, unexpectedly we have seen this legendary being this time around. It is rumored that this ancestor's actual form is a tier 9 Shen pill. It is likely that he is the only medicinal pill of this tier in this world. If he is refined. Shut up. Are you seeking death? The strength of this Pill Tower's ancestor has already reached an overwhelming level. Although there are some in the world who can defeat him, it is likely really difficult to find someone who can steadily refine him. He, however, whoever really experiences that blessing would likely. The appearance of the ancestor from the Pill Tower had undoubtedly stirred a big commotion within the surrounding mountains. Some of the experts from the older generation revealed startled faces. Their eyes contained some respect and fear as they looked at the ancestor. At the same time, there were some strange thoughts surging deep within their hearts. After putting aside the strength of the ancestor from the pill tower, his actual body as a tier 9 Xian pill was enough to cause an elite Do Sheng to go crazy with red eyes. Old ghost, it seems that you are intending on going against my Hun clan. Hun Mo Qian's shriveled face slightly shook the moment the ancestor from the pill tower appeared. His voice was hoarse as he said, "In the past, our Hun clan has not attacked the pill tower on account of you. This action of yours is not wise. Haha, you undying old thing. Don't you think that speaking these superficial words in front of me is a little comical?" The ancestor of the pill tower smiled faintly upon hearing this threat. He laughed. If the Hall of Souls had experienced the right opportunity, it would have already attacked long ago. "Do you think I do not understand you people? All right, there is no need to say such unnecessary words. It has been many years since I have fought with you. I wonder just how much your strength has risen compared to back then. I will let you know." The strange glow within Hun Qian Mo's eyes became brighter. The distance of his voice had also gradually become indistinguishable as his body became a little illusory. "All of you should be careful." The ancestor from the pill tower faintly smiled faintly upon seeing Hun Qian Mo's actions. He turned his head and informed Xiao Yang's group. After which, his body quietly disappeared. The next time it reappeared, he was already in the air. He gently waved his hand and the surrounding space rippled. Immediately, a chaotic space was created by him. "Hun Qian Mo, the outside area is far too small. Let's enter and fight." The ancestor of the pill tower stood in front of the entrance to the spatial tunnel. He laughed in the direction of Hun Qian Mo below. After which, he turned around and entered that spatial tunnel. After reaching their level, they were able to randomly create a realm to fight in, but this hurriedly formed space was unstable. It would usually disappear after the battle came to an end. "Do you think I am afraid of you?" Hun Qian Mo coldly laughed upon seeing the ancestor leave. His body moved and everyone saw the space in the air fluctuate. A figure charged into that spatial tunnel with lightning-like speed. Soon after the both of them entered the realm, the space rippled and became transparent. Everyone's eyesight was able to penetrate this transparent space and see the two figures floating within the chaotic space. One of these figures was the ancestor of the pill tower and the other was Hun Qian Mo. These two are elite 6-star Do Shengs. Haha, it looks like this trip was not made in vain. A fight at this level is extremely rare across the entire continent. The entire mountain range quickly broke into an uproar as the two individuals charged into the realm one after another. This would be the first time most of the people present would be witnessing a face-off between experts of this level. The ancestor from the pill tower and Hun Qian Mo did not utter anything unnecessary after entering the realm. They immediately began an extremely heated battle in front of many excited eyes. Even though they were in a different realm, some monstrous energy ripples still spread. The muffled sound of a chiming bell caused many to feel their chests constrict. The battle erupted with lightning-like speed. The frightening energy assault, which could easily destroy the world, caused the hearts of many people to tremble. A strength at that level was really far too attractive. Xiao Chen's eyes glanced at that realm after the battle erupted within that space. After which, he slowly stepped forward without expression. His eyes glanced between the chief of the Hall of Souls and old man Hun Mo. His voice cracked slightly as he asked, "Who will step forward next?" Xiao Chen's voice was not loud. However, it appeared to possess a mysterious strength that could cause one's soul to tremble. Many pairs of eyes that had been watching the fight in the created realm shot over. The chief of the Hall of Souls and old man Hun Mo exchanged glances after looking at Xiao Chen. Old man Hun Mo revealed a dark expression on his elderly face. He took 2 steps forward in front of everyone and said, "Blood Axe Xiao Chen, you were extremely renowned back then. However, you are currently a little outdated. We will know whether I am outdated after exchanging blows." Xiao Chen's expression was still extremely rigid, but his heart became a little more solemn. Regardless of how awful old man Hun Mo's words were, there was indeed a reason behind the. If he had been able to train normally until now, he would not even need to worry about Hun Qian Mi, much less old man Hun Mo. Being a genius of the Xiao clan, he had been filled with pride and confidence. Unfortunately, the truth was ultimately harsh. It had not been easy for him to retain his life after being trapped within the illusion for thousands of years. The increase in his strength had also extremely slow, allowing even old man Hun Mo, who was from the younger generation of the Hun clan, to surpass him. Old man Hun Mo strangely laughed after hearing this reply. His robe fluttered in the absence of wind before he paused in the sky. A vast and mighty Do Chi erupted from his body in all directions. In an instant, a black fog blotted out the distant sky. The light over the entire mountain range became a lot dimmer. Such a frightening Do Chi pressure from old man Hun Mo caused saliva to be swallowed around the mountain range. Many startled eyes landed on old man Hun Mo. Although the fight within the created realm was even more terrifying, it was isolated from everyone present. The shock from that other battle could not compare to directly witnessing such Do Qi. Advanced 5-star Do Sheng. There are really many experts within the Han clan. Some of the grand elders within the sect quietly sighed at this moment. They were envious of the Han clan's mighty foundation. That Xiao Chen is rumored to be someone from the Xiao clan, but from the looks of it, it will be a little difficult for him to beat old man Han Mo. It will indeed be an intense battle. The conversations that spread in all directions did not cause even the slightest fluctuation to appear in Xiao Chen's eyes. At this moment, his eyes were only focused on that figure below the vast black cloud in the sky. He stared at old man Han Mo as a gradual heat filled his eyes. Those who challenge the might of the Xiao clan shall die. Xiao Chen slowly clenched his hand and a 100-foot-large blood-soaked axe suddenly appeared. A bright red color also gradually consumed his eyes at this moment. A low roar that belonged to the Xiao clan from the previous era penetrated through buried history and echoed across thousands of years in a blood-boiling fashion. This video will end here.